Between school, your friends, and social media, answers are everywhere. But where can you find the truth? Welcome to the StudentCast. We're asking for a friend so you don't have to.
What's up, party people? We're back asking questions for a friend so you don't have to. My name is Brynn, and I'm here with my friend
Ka'eo, and we're hanging out today. Today's topic is a little bit awkward.
So awkward.
Yeah,
You know what's not a party? That's what we said earlier. You know what's not a party is being led on.
Honestly, it's not. It really isn't. It's not a good time. Honestly, it makes you question everything about yourself. And then honestly, a lot of your insecurities start racing. And so being led on is honestly the worst experience you could feel. It is just as close to a breakup.
And a lot of people don't know that they're leading someone on. So that's what today, the question we're asking for our friends is, am I leading them on?
Yeah, and honestly, that's an honest question. I feel like that person that was asking that question was just like, hey, I just want to make sure I don't do this.
Yeah.
So here's what I am doing, and am I leading them on?
Yeah.
And I was like, dang, I actually have respect for that.
Totally.
Because I feel like not many people do. I think they kind of just stay oblivious, and then they end up hurting a lot of people when they didn't mean to.
Yeah. And the question asking is in a way trying to care for the other person by even just thinking through that level of like, oh wait, am I doing this? Because the heart in my mind is that you're caring for the other person's feelings if you're even asking this question.
Yeah, exactly. So there's nothing wrong with this, although leading on is a bad thing. I think the way that we're going to go about this is just more like, hey, here's some things that we've known in our experience, how a lot of our friends even walked through this before. A lot of the stories we're going to be sharing today are definitely not maybe our experiences, but mainly from others. And so, hopefully this one's helpful because leading on is tough.
Yeah.
So first
You're not
question.
trying to add shame to someone who might be a leader on her.
No, because most of the time they had no idea they were leading them on. Yes. Okay. So, but first things first is like leading on. How does it even start? How do you even get into that place where it's like, oh, am I leading them on? Am I not?
I think some of it is in grace to the person that might be leading someone on. We're designed for relationship as people. And I was listening to something the other day that was even saying like, especially for girls and guys, like we're wired to like be in an intimate relationship with each other. And so especially when we're friends with each other, it's really easy for those lines to get crossed because we're feeling the way that God was wired us to feel for our brothers and sisters in Christ. So I think sometimes it starts with like the purest of intentions.
Yeah, we're just friends.
It's just friendly that turns into like, well, was that friendly because he likes me or he likes me?
That's good.
You know?
Yeah, that's what most of the guys are oblivious and they're just like, well, I'm having a good time. You know?
And most of the girls already have their wedding Pinterest board already planned.
So already, even the way that the guys and girls tend to be more commonly wired, already
which is
sets
not
them.
always how it is though.
Yes.
Like, I just want to make sure we preface that because I have talked with plenty of the girls where I'm like, you realize that this like homie's in love with you. And they're like, no. They're like,
he's just being a nice guy.
Yeah. And they're like, they're not thinking about relationships at all. Whereas the guy's like, so our first child's name will be.
I mean, that was me. So
yeah, so it can be different.
It can be
but just
stereotypically,
sure. It is typically the other way.
Yeah, it does tend to be that way. So already wired, already miscomms already. We are, if you think about it, communication is 90% nonverbal. And so sometimes we are careless in how our body is acting, but our words are saying something different. And that is hard for people to understand. And that's where our confusion comes. So
yeah,
that is one. So I think the first thing that you just have to be honest with yourself. You got to start with you, right? Am I in this relationship? Do I have feelings for this person? Or are they a friend? You have to almost DTR within yourself first.
Totally. Yeah. This isn't one of the things where you can just be like, I'm just going to avoid thinking about it and it'll all work out.
No.
Because I would say 9 times out of 10, if you're not thinking about it, the other person is.
Yes.
So don't just not think about it.
No, yeah. And you have to make that pretty clear. I think what I respect a lot about my friends is when they were friends with each other, they would always be very clear at the beginning, being like, hey, yeah, we're friends. I really enjoy us. Or like, I remember the girls would always be like, hey, friend. They were very clear with the guys, especially if the guys got just their actions could be misconstrued as like, maybe you're flirting with me or like, why did you buy me coffee too? Or that kind of stuff. They would be like, wow, thanks, friend. You know, and they were making it pretty clear of like, hey, in my mind, I am your friend, you know?
Yeah.
And so that was really good. Cause then the guys would come back like, dude, oh, she said the friend word. Like, I don't think there's anything there. And I'm like, yeah, I don't think there's anything there either, guy.
Yeah.
Like, she sees you as just your friend. You know what I mean?
Thanks, bro.
Bro? Broski?
That's so funny.
But yeah, anyway, yeah, it is really funny. But yeah, so that's like one way that I feel like you have to define it within yourself first.
Yeah.
And then you have to make sure it's clear. So you yourself can't be ambiguous in how you feel either with the other person.
Totally. Yeah. And I know this is awkward, but I honestly think one of the easiest ways to avoid something the like, this is awkward. Are we friends or are we not? Is literally just ask. Like,
yeah, that's good.
Hey, like we spend a lot of time together. I'm a dude, you're a girl.
Yeah.
And like I can see how that looks like. That could be something else. And like if you yourself are the one asking if you're leading someone on, just say, hey, I view us as friends and I'm really glad we're friends. Like, great.
And that's
question answered.
And it's
like
done.
This podcast is over, you know?
Honestly.
But I know that's so awkward, but I would say for like, just speaking for a lot of people that I've had this conversation with, like who are on the receiving end of that, even the like slight hint of rejection there that might be there feels way better than that like question period of like, but we're so close. Like,
yeah. Well,
are we going to fall in love?
Maybe, possibly. But
No.
yeah, that's like you're saying where you say clarity is kindness. And like, if you think about it, if you don't really have that honest conversation, then I don't think they don't know how to operate within themselves. And so everything they do is like, oh, I'm not sure. And I'm not sure. And if anything, we're putting everyone in relational lock.
Yeah.
And then that's unfair for each party, both parties, you know?
Yeah.
And so I think having that conversation at the beginning is important. I had a lot of my guys always ask their friends, being like, hey, do you feel like, I'm leading them on? Well, actually, what's really cool is most of the guys end up being like, hey, dude, like, do you like her? Because you're doing things that you wouldn't normally do.
Yeah.
So I think that's why it's always important that you're always hanging out in groups.
Totally.
Because in groups, outside perspectives help you understand of like, oh, I didn't even realize I was leading them on.
Yeah.
And then that helps them be like, okay, I need to have that conversation that you were talking about, right?
Yeah, which is so good. That's why, again, we say to hang out in community because, I think our friends have such a subtle, like, view of being like, oh, I know how you act with this person. I know how you don't act with these other people. And so just that even question of like, oh, I don't know. Okay, one of the best ways to know if you are leading someone on is if everyone's asking if you like that person.
That's actually very good.
Like, people have eyes.
They do.
So if everyone's asking you, probably you're doing something.
You're
to fuel this fire.
Yes, yeah, you are whether intentionally or unintentionally, you are essentially doing that. And that brings us to the other question where there is a shadow side to this. So sometimes the question is, am I leading them on? Well, yeah, you are. And the reason why you're not wanting to do anything is because either you have fear of commitment or you love the attention. And that's unfair for the other individual because then it's like, well, then you're just using them for your own selfish gain. You know what I mean? And
I think like that sounds bad when we talk about it and like lay it out that way, but that's so normal. Like, and so that's a normal human feeling. But I think the encouragement here with that is like, there's so much more value in other relationships than being stuck in that place because of the fear of either one of those things. And so, I don't know, real talk here. I think when people are like, but I don't want our friendship to change, my fight against that is like, well, it's going to change at some point either way.
Yeah.
So like, if you are leading them or like potentially leading them on and you're like, but if I stopped doing that, then our friendship would change. Well, at some point, either you're going to get a boyfriend or girlfriend or they're going to start dating someone or you're just whatever, something will happen. And then the friendship changes either way. So just make it clear and back off.
Well, yeah. And I think it also puts limits on your friendship anyway. So I agree with you. I think, it's going to change no matter what. I think that's a great point. I think a lot of I had a conversation with a student was like, I don't want to even label anything, even though currently I feel like we're flirting, we're having a good time, but I don't want to label anything because I'm scared that I'm going to lose her as my friend. And I was just like, I feel like
you've already lost her as your friend.
Because at that point, they're no longer operating like that. You know what I mean? So I think there's...
Not that you could never be friends again, but like where you're at right now, you already aren't friends.
Yeah.
You might be friends within your relationship, but it's changed.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I think you have really good wise words, Brynn. So that's actually really good. Yeah.
But I think that's good. I think what I want to make sure we say here is the reason why we're even like having this podcast episode is because am I leading someone on whole question again goes back to like, are you loving your brother and sisters in Christ well around you?
Yeah.
And so I heard it said to me one time of like interact with people in a way or like pursue dating relationships with people in a way that respects both of your future spouses. And so don't take up space in that person's life because you don't want to lose the attention or you don't want to lose the friendship.
Yeah.
and like unintentionally, again, I know it's not like an intentional pain that you're trying to cause someone, but that can hurt someone and like add baggage onto someone, and insecurities and all these things that obviously the Lord can redeem. But you're like taking up part of the story that isn't yours to take up.
Yeah, that's real.
And so like, get out, take a hike, dude, or girl.
Yeah, well, exactly. I think that's, wow. Those are bars. And I think people just need to go back and go ahead and hit rewind the past 10 seconds and listen to what Brynn just said, because I think it is really powerful and it is respectful for both parties. So that is true. Okay, so what are some signs of leading on? Because like, I think we're talking necessarily about the concept of leading on.
That's valid.
We're talking about why it's bad.
Let's talk about how the tangibles are more helpful.
Yeah. So how can I identify that I'm leading someone on? You know what I mean?
I think if you are consistently like texting,
That's literally what I was going to say.
Or Snapchatting.
Yeah. Yes.
That is, and I get it. Like everyone does it now. I'm putting air quotes up if you're listening to this. And I get you have a streak or whatever. But if you think a girl or a guy likes you and you guys still have a snap streak, just end it.
Yeah.
Like, because being the one, like if someone likes you, and even if you've done all the signs to be like, I don't like you back, but you guys still have a snap streak, they're going to be like, but we're still like snapping.
Yeah.
Like, that'll be what they go back to.
Yeah. Like,
so
there's other signs that says otherwise. Yeah. Right? Yeah.
So just end it. End the snap streak. Stop texting. Don't send them memes on Instagram.
No, I mean, your point of contact should be more contextualized versus constant. You know what I mean? Yeah.
That was good.
Yeah.
That was good. Contextualized versus constant.
Yeah, that's really, if it makes sense, then yes. And if not, then okay, then it could be something else. It could be misconstrued. So that was my first one, because most of our students often are like, oh, like they texted me, so I got text back and da. But then the person if that didn't like you, they're not going to respond to you all the time. You know what I mean? And so I think that's a really poignant thing. I think the second one is all of a sudden is just spending a lot of time with them. Sometimes maybe not in just groups, you know, or like maybe when you guys are in group setting, you guys happen to always be with each other. You know, I think that is something where it's like, if you like them, that makes sense. If you don't, why? You know what I mean? Yeah. And so I think that can be misconstrued. I had a couple students share with me where it's like, yeah, we'll be in group setting, but then every time I look up, our eyes would meet. And I'd be like, I don't think they actually like you. And like, no, it's every time. Every time. And it's a funny joke. I look up, she's laughing with me. And I'm like, okay, maybe it's your friend next to you, you know? So the whole idea is just like, we can't read too much into that. So.
For sure. But to the point of like, if you're in group settings, okay, but also don't make it weird. Like if you're scared that you're like leading someone on, I'm just picturing this where like all of a sudden
I want to stand up for this where it's like, oh, you stood here, okay, bye. You know,
like, don't make it weird. But I just think like, if you catch yourself very consistently, and sometimes it's hard because you're like, well, we just get along really well, and so naturally I'm like gonna hang out with this person, sure. But if you don't like them, just like, don't do that all the time. Yeah, I don't know how to say that in a nicer way.
No, I totally get it. Yeah, you don't want to embarrass them. You don't want to embarrass them or bring more light to something that's not even a thing. Yeah, I agree. I literally wanted to stand up and then pretend I stood by someone and be like, oh, ill, sorry.
Oh, no, I'm next to you. I'm not allowed to do that.
I need to leave. I need to
not lead you on. Let's make it really clear I don't like you. Like,
that's worse. That's just you being mean. Yeah. I agree.
And then I think this one's hard, but I think one of the parts that can be like leading on, and this is where like you just need to have honest conversations with your friends, is sometimes your friends are leading the person on for you. Like where like you might be like not really adding to it anymore, but your friends are always going up to the girl or to the guy being like, no, dude, like she likes you. Like she totally likes you, and she's just like not she's not good at hanging out. Whatever.
Well,
I don't know.
Excuse here.
Insert excuse. Or they're like making comments like when you guys do end up right next to each other, and they're like, oh, like
he's cute,
like whatever. Yeah. And so for the person that doesn't like them, sure, those jokes are all funny or like whatever. Maybe they're frustrating, but yeah. For the person that was like not the one that didn't like them, all that's doing is being like, oh my gosh, but their friends are saying that he likes me.
Yeah, so maybe it's true.
So like maybe he just doesn't realize it yet, or maybe he like had some sort of conversation with them, and so that's why they're doing this. So if your friends are doing that, I get that's not you, but part of you like fighting to protect the other person's heart is having a conversation with your friends and being like, hey, I'm saying it's not a thing, so like I need you to stop.
Yeah, that's true. That's the most honoring thing your friends could do for you, and also vice versa. You like like flip the script. You would want like if you were in this situation, you would want your friends to tell you like, hey, that's not a thing. Because then all you're doing is you're building up hope. And then that's the worst thing is when hope gets ripped from you. So no, I agree. I think we have a lot of students who are like, yeah, I wasn't really into it, but then my friends convinced me. And then it's like, then you guys start dating and you realize, no, I don't really like her. But the reason why you even started in the first place was because your friend said, and then now we have more heartbreak. And so, yeah, I agree. I totally forgot about how friends really influence us in that way too. So I think that's one.
I can't really think of more tangibles, but
I don't really. As far as those, that's it. I do have to say there is one that is really difficult to like take back, and so it's not. Maybe it's not so much recently, but I do know that there's sometimes there's like the weird like lingering hands. So sometimes it's like all of a sudden it's like it's like, oh, like my hand's on your shoulder, or my elbow brushes against yours, or it's like do you see what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
Like there is like this like weird sense of like physical contact.
Yeah.
Not in a bad or weird, like sexual way, but just like this idea of like, oh wait, like why is your hand kept? I don't know how to do it with just me, but you know what I mean? Like where it's just like
or you're like laughing and you're like, oh,
yeah,
like,
okay, thanks,
touch the arm.
Thanks for
I get
saving
it.
me. Because
Yeah.
I was like, I don't know how to do this.
I get it.
Okay. But I feel like that's even one where it's like, okay, that's hard for the person who's receiving it, being like,
yeah.
you don't do that with other girls.
Yeah.
So why is it so you do like me? Okay. Yeah. I think that is hard. And then I think sometimes like, I'll be honest, I had a lot of friends who they knew the girl liked them, and then they would just be like, well, that felt good. So then they would play. Or they say, maybe I'll catch feelings. And so they lead them on hoping.
Which again is like, get out of their story.
Yeah.
Like
they're hoping, and it's
Yeah.
not, it doesn't come to fruition. So
yeah, it's tough. But
these are all big pitfalls, which actually ends up being very damaging.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. It's tough. But I think this is going to be on the receiving end. I think for the person who feels like maybe they're being led on, because we didn't really give a ton of tangibles, like, because it's hard. Like, that's where we like talk to your friends. There's so many little things for people reading between the lines. For the person who's like, I'm listening to this and I feel like maybe I'm being led on, or like is just confused.
Yeah.
I think my advice for you is, if you are unsure, it's a no. And until you're sure, then it's like, keep it at a no.
Yeah.
And coming from someone who can do this, like, just don't look for the ways that it might be a yes until they're like, clear. You deserve to be treasured and like pursued. And so if this person's like, hey, like I'm being confusing and sending these like sly mixed signals, you don't deserve that. You deserve some clarity. If you're the dude, like, and you like the girl, just go tell her you like her and ask her on a date. Like, and then girls, you leading them on would be to say like, yeah, I'll go on the date, but you're not interested. Yeah. So just say no if you're not interested. And then it's done. Like, eliminate this weird in between. Yeah. And then there's less leading on, I guess, is what I'm trying to say. Yeah, I think so. I think that's true. Though, yeah, this would be actually really beneficial for everyone. Yeah, I think. Yeah. It also so what it sounds like is the answer to this question is am I leading them on is have the conversation. Have a dang conversation. Yeah, I think what you're currently doing is you're doing with like, I feel like in middle school, and it's like where it's like, like let me ask my friend if she likes me, and then how about you tell her, and then you don't even do anything with it, and now everyone's talking about you guys, no one's talking to each other, and so I think I agree. I think the answer to and if your friends trust the friendship that it will last through an awkward conversation, have an awkward conversation for 15 minutes and then be fine for the next 15 days. Yeah, I think you guys will laugh about it later. Yeah, you know what I mean. So I think that's good. That's good. And again, this all comes back to honoring like your brothers and sisters in Christ and putting others above self. So yeah, the attention feels great, but like their heart is more important than your attention. Yep. So it's good. Yep, I agree. Well, I think that's it. Again, remember, none of our things are just to be end alls. These are all just to start the conversation. So if anything, maybe it's like, wow, I should just evaluate my relationships in my life and then bring it to your friends or bring it to someone you trust, who's going to be honest, who loves you enough to be honest with you. Yeah. So I would say I think that's that. So Brynn, anything else? I'm laughing because Ka'eo, my last thing is one way that you could see if you're leading someone on is send this podcast to someone and be like, hey, am I leading you on?
Just listen.
I'm kidding. Don't do that. Don't do that. I'm so lying. I'm so joking. But you could send it to like your life group or like your mentor and be like, hey, I just listened to this. Am I leading this girl on or whatever?
That'd be great.
Or am I leading this guy on? Let's do it too.
Yes. So I would go ahead and do that. And I can't. And then we'll, so go ahead, like and subscribe, make some comments on it. And then, maybe if you even have like specific questions on that, find your trusted people or we'll gladly evaluate it for you.
I will love evaluating that for you. Just let me spy.
Yeah.
I'll be like, you're leading
totally leading
him on.
All right. Well, with that being said, we had fun with you guys. It was great. Thanks for enduring this conversation because sometimes it's awkward and we don't really like pointing fingers or anything like that. But we recognize this is a conversation, especially as you get ready to go into the school year. When there's a new friends, new relationships, summer flings may have started or ended, or you're in the in-between. And so we want to make sure you guys are just honest with yourselves and with each other because relationships matter. And so that's kind of why we're here. So with that being said, we'll see you guys in a couple weeks. All right. So bye.
Thank you for listening to this episode of the Well StudentCast. As always, don't forget to subscribe and tell your friends about us. For more information about the Well Student Ministries, visit thewellcommunities.org/students.